Penny-Baker School Board meeting to order, and agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Unless there are any corrections or amendments to the minutes of February 6th, they stand approved as written.
I have one minor one.
Oh, you have one?
It just says that I reported on program and staffing. I think it was maybe Melinda or something.
I did.
You did. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was me.
Got it.
Thank you.
That's right.
Students report.
Awesome. How is everyone?
Great.
Good. So, as I'm sure some of you might have noticed, I've missed a few of our last meetings due to snow or Nordic and driver's ed and busyness. So, I'm here, and I just wanted to apologize for that. So, I'm just going to highlight a few of the major things for the last few months. Quarter 3 I started. It started on January 26th. On January 31st was move-up night, where the 8th graders from around the district and their parents come. They get a tour of the building and share. They went and saw the extracurricular activities, and people were very impressed with it. I know my family has always enjoyed coming to the school, and they enjoyed the event. They thought it was very well done. On February 1st, there was a college overview for juniors here, run partially by College Board in collaboration with a New Hampshire part of the Department of Education, I think, that helps students move on to college from high school. And they had an informative session that went well. Students and parents attended, and they were all very pleased. On February 7th, there was a math meet at Guilford. And on February 14th, there were singing Valentines. And it's an activity where students can pay some members of our chorus, and they'll go around and they'll sing to different people they want delivered, singing Valentines delivered to. And you can pay $5 for just the song and $7 for the song and the carnation. And all proceeds this year went to the Plymouth Food Bank. So lots of people. It's a loved event. So everyone came out and was enjoying that.
Do you know how much money you made?
I know in years past we made upwards of like $300. I'm not sure exactly how much we made this year, but when I saw them, they were all pretty busy. So
It's a lot of singing.
yeah, so they did. Takes up 2 blocks of the day, so they did pretty well, I'm sure. Also on that day, February 14th through the 16th, was the DECA State Conference. DECA is like a business club. They run the school store here in collaboration with Mr. Spear, and they had their state conference. And one of our students, Jasmine Sanders, was elected to the statewide board for DECA. We were very happy for her. In other news, NHS has accepted its new members and has held its new group meetings. They just held elections for their new what's what I'm looking for? Executive group officers, thank you. And the voting actually ended today at about 3 o'clock, so those results should be in soon. And we have some of our sports are finishing up. Last weekend wrestling finished, and they came in first in the state, so we were very happy for them. Last Wednesday or last Tuesday, boys Alpine had their state meet, and they came in second in the state. They were runners up. Girls Alpine was the day after, and they came in 5th in the state overall. And boys Nordic had their NH series race, which is like a big statewide skiing event, and the boys came in 3rd out of tons of schools. All 3 divisions played, and that wasn't their state meet, but they were very excited because they only came behind 1 person in our division, so we're looking very good for states this year. Upcoming next week is winter break, and students are very excited for that, along with Winter Carnival, which is on February 23rd, this Friday. We're all very, very excited for that. And on March 6th, progress reports close for a 3rd quarter.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Nice job.
Nice to have you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice report. We missed you.
Who's next? No, Mr. Halloran's.
I'm all set. Madam Chair, all of my input is in the committee reports and non-public.
All right.
Ben, you informed about the wrestling?
Yes.
Yeah. Just on one point, I'm working with Plymouth University on our March 21st. It will be available because that's our senior when we take our SATs. So we're going to be able to use their facilities, which is great, to take our seniors for a full day of presentations. Hopefully a couple of people here are putting on some activities for the kids too. So I wanted to give kudos to the college for opening their doors and allowing that to happen while the other kids are testing. Other than that, Ben took care of all my activities. Thank you.
And committee progress reports. Facilities?
So you can see the list of, I don't need to read them to you. You can see, relocation places. Also, parking. You may have noticed there's a parking now in front of the north wing. We've cleared that out, so a number of people have been assigned to park in front of the north wing. And also, we've moved all of the staff from the the regular lot onto the area where the 2 outdoor basketball courts are, and they're accessing the campus from Merrill Street Extension. And so that's where those folks are parking. So we had a smooth day. We started it this week, so we could get a good look and see what it looks like, and if we had to make any adjustments or anything, we could do that over vacation. So everybody will be squared away, and it won't be as much of a mess as it's going to be anyway when the kids come back from vacation. But we think that in terms of what we can prepare, we've done the best we can. And so that's the update on where we're at.
Any questions? Okay, weight room cleanup.
Yes, as you knew, we had a water minor catastrophe in the nurse's office that went through the floor down to the weight room and ruined the flooring, the ceiling, and so we worked with our insurance company. We have a $1,000 deductible, and that has all been put back in place, and so we're back open. We were down for a little bit of time, and the problem of the time of year is that's one of our key phys ed stations because of the weather, obviously. So we were down, but the kids were great, and so now we're back open and we're back running, and the weight room won't be affected at all by construction. And they're in, that room's done, over with. A couple of the systems have been upgraded while we were in there, and we had great participation with the insurance company that allowed us. We also did some asbestos abatement in there. The tiles that were under the floor were, the tiles were fine. It was the masking that held the tiles down on the floor contained some asbestos. So that was all abated, and so it's all cleaned up. And
For 1,000?
so that's where we are. Pardon?
For $1,000?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's great.
the asbestos abatement we paid for
Okay.
because that was above and beyond what the insurance company would be doing. But it was not too bad.
Any other questions on the weight room? All right, other business?
Just again, back to the building, we have not borrowed any money yet. The architectural fees that we're working with right now, we have a line of credit, and we've been drawing off the line of credit and have not entered into a bond yet. I think Dan is going out in the middle of the year to get a bond when other folks are up in the bond market. So that's where we are, and so far so good, the whole process.
Policy and budget?
Fiscal year 18 review of appropriations, revenue and appropriations update.
I handed out a sheet of revenue update. Again, this reflects cash in the door as of this date. And we're running pretty true to form. We're in good shape. You can see, obviously, unreserved fund balance was always here. Catastrophic aid came in, just a little under what we expected from the state. Adequacy, 71%. Our final payment should be coming on April 1st, and that's usually about the final 30%. Vocational tuition, that's a payment from the state. Medicaid's a late arriving, usually, but Dan Rossner told me today that everyone's done a really good job submitting everything they need to. IDEA is a special ed grant. That's running pretty true to form in terms of timing. Title I is right on the nose in terms of timing. You can see tuition. We billed $512,454, and you can see 77% of that is in. There are payments from Waterville, Warren, and Ellsworth that will finish out those numbers that are due over the course of the spring. We try and follow cash flow for us, and also when tax bills get paid in the community, so nobody's put into a cash flow squeeze. Earnings on investment, a little better than expected. And then your thermal recs, that's from the sale of thermal recs in the marketplace. And there'll be another sale later in this fiscal year. And then you can see the revenue from the bond. We've taken $224,356 from the line of credit. That's what has gone out the door to architects, engineers, and other consultants. Federal funds, they reflect some of the payments that are due. And then you can see the food service, that's the cash flow from federal and from the students paying. Then down underneath, you can see the assessments to the towns and the percentage of the assessment that has been paid for by the town.
The federal funds are on task?
Yes.
Okay.
And so revenues they're good. Don't want to get into any surprises like some other school districts. So we track revenues pretty quickly. And in terms of, someone asked me a great question, and it was a citizen. And he said how they had referenced the Pembroke tuition issue. And what's the process? We come up with a number that we think that we're going to get at school district meeting time, and that's an estimate. And so I forget the number that we used for this past town meeting, but it'd be in your blue book, whatever number we used. And then later in the fall, in early September, we get a second crack at those revenues before the tax rate is set. And so if we had a significant, say we thought 10 kids were coming from Waterville Valley and only 5 were actually going to come, in that September we would know that, and we would lower that revenue estimate to reflect what we're really going to get. And then anything from the original estimate and the final number we set would then be raised by property taxes. So, but the key is to really get a sense of what the numbers are in the sending districts for so we can be off 30, 40, maybe sometimes $50,000 one way or the other. You can see we were counting on 4, and then we got over $500,000 this year. So just a swing of a few kids can really mean a difference. So Pembroke, I don't know what the numbers that they were off, but you can see that's how it happens, is that second look, and all of a sudden your numbers from the school district meeting to the actual billing are very different. That's how a Pembroke situation can take place. So, and we do all we can, obviously, to avoid that kind of shock. Appropriations,
Yeah.
they're listed on your board docs. They're looking very, very good at the moment. I'm very, very pleased with where they are. We've cleaned up some of the questions that we had. I went through today with your bookkeeper and verified some things, closed out some encumbrances that we understand are not going to be used. And so right now we're sitting in pretty good shape. If you remember all of that, I have to, we promised an unreserved fund balance of $223,680. So I've got to hit that target by revenues that came in higher than we expected, plus expenditures that we didn't need or make. So, and right now, I feel very confident we'll hit that number pretty easily. So if you go over those on board docs and you have any questions, please feel free to contact.
SCC bylaws review.
Yes, contained in your packet are the bylaws from the SEC and, the School Community Council. It's got SEC on the mind. I don't want to give them my stocks. But you have those, and it's an opportunity for you to go through here. I know that there were questions from the board members who sit on that committee. Also, we were a little bit tardy in, it said the sunset clause, the council expired on August 31st of 2009. So, obviously, each year you approve the FCC, so, but we ought to be cleaning that up too. So I would, Madam Chair, I turn it over to the two board members who sit on the committee that had issues and wanted to verify some data on the SCC.
Okay, I turned the page and I think I see the answer. It says 3 school board members and 2 alternates.
I have a slight problem with that, just because we have so many different committees. It's tough getting people to serve on the committee. And I'm wondering, do we need 3 and 2 alternates? Can you,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
so we could go with
I think,
2?
and I'd like your opinion as well, I think 3 is sufficient, whether it be 3 total or 2 and 1 alternate. And my idea was 2 that would show up on a regular basis, and if they can't, the alternate would be anticipated to attend in their absence, if at all possible. So the 3 relegated to that committee should be prepared to be at an SCC meeting each month when it does take place. That's how I feel.
2 is fine. When we originally started, it was 2. 2 is fine.
2 and an
There's a principal
alternate.
on there, superintendent is on there.
2 and an alternate.
Correct.
Yeah, so we should change this. I thought we updated this since 2000.
We have.
Yeah.
It's been before you before, just have to go back and check my minutes, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we have made changes to this since 2000.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, we definitely have.
So this
So
is-
you think it's 2 and 1?
Yes, correct.
Superb.
and if,
It's 2 school board members, 1 alternate.
Yep.
and if not, should we at least now amend what we have before us to that? And then
You
we
should,
look
you
for
should
the
get, you
update?
should get it in the minutes and
Yeah, so
that
let's,
you've done
okay,
that.
let's do that. Can I make a motion?
And then the other thing that needed, I think, clarification was the board makes proposals to them.
Yeah, I'd like us to look at this
Yep.
for another meeting, but that's just what I see clearly at the top. And we should make that amendment now towards, regarding the board members.
Might be coming from the committee tonight, when we approve it tonight.
Well, you could do that, but also then I would move it on to your March committee meeting after people have had the opportunity to read
Okay.
it and give any other, and then you may want to act on it at your March board meeting.
Would be more efficient just to do it all at once, just have you fly spec it to see
The
if there's
only-
anything else and then just push
The only
everything off.
reason I recommend that we change that right now is because it's been such a discussion item at the SCC, and we will be meeting again. And it'd be nice to get that one part clarified
When
then,
does
but
the
then,
SEC meet next?
where are we? This is, or it must be March 1st. Oh, I shut my,
But I guess what I mean, Bart, is you could take the sentiment back to them that we will eventually be doing that, but we just wanted to do it all at one, like have one marked
I
up
know.
document that we could do it.
I still felt that since this has been a discussion all year and last year, that it should be clarified in that one issue. But I still would like to look at the whole document.
Yeah, you may want to look at the function of the process, okay? Because we've been working with the proposals and the priorities come from the board, and they're sent down. So, I would agree with Barbara on that, if you want to take a look at that.
think March 5th is the next meeting for SBC.
So is that,
And they're fine, because they have a proposal, they're working on it, one of your issues that you sent down to them too anyway. So they have their hands full.
So you're gonna look at it for one more and do it in the next committee meeting in March?
well,
I mean, what's your thought?
SCC meets March 5th, is that what you said? We as a committee don't meet till March 19th. I would prefer, if we all agree, to just change that one component in terms of membership
Make a motion.
tonight. And then still review the full document for our next committee meeting. That way I can take that component back. So I would like to make a motion that we amend the SCC School Community Council document, Statement of Collaborative Intent, so that under structure, Roman numeral 2, it now says 3 school board members and 2 alternates. We change that to 2 school board members and 1 alternate.
Okay, Sam, Maureen, and I are the only 3 members of the committee here, so,
I'll second.
okay.
And only two may,
Yes,
right?
yeah, if you would, yeah. Only 2 may vote.
Right. Right, thank you.
So it's been moved and seconded to change it from 3 and 2 to 2 and 1.
And this is just to send it up to the full board to vote on tonight, is that what we're going to do? Okay.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's 3, okay. So we'll bring it on to the full board. Student co-curricular drug and alcohol policy and other policies we will be looking at this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, Mr. Talent?
It's all yours.
Here we go. I've had, yep.
Was I out of order to make that motion since I'm not on that committee? I'm on SCC, but maybe someone from your committee should make the motion.
Okay, Maureen, you make
Possibly.
that
I'll make
motion?
the motion.
Okay, and we've already voted on it, so. All in favor? Aye.
Vernon, you're on that.
Just that.
Oh, okay.
We all set?
We're all set.
Ms. Price is passing out some co-curricular changes regarding our drug and alcohol policy and our tobacco with the new vaping and some of the other issues we're dealing with. I've also got with me the athletic director because he's going to have a piece on this. If you recall, all our athletes signed a contract to remain free of alcohol, tobacco, and others. And we found some loopholes in here we'd like to close. So I'd like to turn the co-curricular piece over to Bob first, and he will take you through. Well,
Okay, so basically, big picture, what you have in front of you are all of the different policies that are pulled out of the handbook from different sources. We have the smoking policy, the electronic smoking device policy, which is of course different than the smoking policy. So on that front page, one thing that we would like to add, which is highlighted, is now that the term vaping is, we wanted it to be clear so that in case that a student were vaping instead of using an electronic cigarette or whatever, that it would cover both things. So that's why we added the term vaping to the
Just one word.
electronic smoking device. So there we are with that.
Are we adding that or deleting?
we're adding it.
So and the things that are in highlighted, unless they're crossed out, we're looking to add them in. Okay? Under the athletics and co-curricular agreement, which is, this is the co-curricular agreement that all students sign, we are adding, so when you turn it over to page 2, at the top it says athletics and co-curricular participation agreement. This originally said, that I agree to remain free from tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs, and we are adding to that, and agree to not use any form of vaping device or electronic smoking device during the entire school year. So this originally it covered alcohol and tobacco and smoking, and so now we added to that electronic smoking device or vaping. Okay, is everybody still with me? So then the same thing when we get down to the captain's, class and club officers' code of conduct. Again, we talked about the drug and alcohol policy. and we added in the smoking policy and/or electronic smoking device policy, so that we're consistent.
Can I just ask a question? Sure. Bob, is during the entire school year, that was in the current policy? That's not?
No,
Yeah.
the only changes he's got is highlighted, yeah.
But I highlighted that, let me check on that, but I believe it did say prior to that, that shouldn't have been highlighted, it was for the entire school year.
I'm not in
Is that-
opposition to it, I just want to
Right,
know
no.
if that was the original statement.
I believe it's, like Bob's saying, probably should not have been highlighted.
I shouldn't have highlighted, I think I did that by mistake, but I'll double check on that for you.
It is the entire school.
So,
Yeah, okay.
one of the big things is, so the next couple pages, this is the Pemmy-Baker Regional School District Drug and Alcohol Policy. And I gave you the whole policy. And when you get down to the involvement in co-curricular activities, what we're asking to do is to remove that entire verbiage from the drug and alcohol policy, and I'll explain why. Because that's in there in the drug and alcohol policy, it just refers to the drug and alcohol policy. So what we're attempting and asking to do is that we are going to remove that from specifically just the drug and alcohol policy and put it into the last page where it's an involvement in co-curricular and athletics. And that whole policy would then stand on its own, and it would be changed to this. What you have on this last part was involvement in co-curricular activities and athletics. And so there are some substantive changes in there. But the main reason that we're moving it out of the drug and alcohol is we want it to apply to not just drug and alcohol, but also the smoking policy and the electronic smoking or vaping policy. So the same type of consequences for violating drug and alcohol would also be with the other ones. And that's why it's not disappearing, it's just being removed so that it can cover all of them. And then I can go through the substantive changes that we have looked to make in the involvement in co-curricular. And the first offender in the school year, looking to add again, taking it directly out of drug and alcohol and adding in smoking policy or electronic smoking device policy. So it covers all of them. Everybody with me? Then under B, when a violation, so the first part, A, is when it involves on school property. B is when it is off school property. Okay, and again, we added the same things, adding the smoking policy, electronic smoking policy to that. And B, here's one of the changes. Before, a student could be, the way that it was written, if you go back and you look at it, the way that it was written in the drug and alcohol policy, a student who violated it on school property would be considered a first offense. If the student then violated off school property, the way that it was written, that would also be considered a first offense. So what this is doing is putting the first offense under both, whether it's off school property or on school property, those are both considered first offenses. Once you have your second offense, whether it's on or off, is a second offense. And it covers all of those policies.
Are you clear with?
Everybody
Yeah.
following me?
And to confirm that, we don't go out and look. I mean, when we sit down with the student that's involved, it has to
We
be
use the
clear.
same standard, which is the preponderance of the evidence standards.
Barbara?
I haven't read this word for word, but does this mean when it refers to off-school property, does that refer to out of school, hours?
Yes.
Weekend,
Yes.
nighttime,
Yeah.
It's
daytime.
not just off-school property at another
No.
school event?
No, it's,
Okay.
the way that our policy, whether we make these changes or not, our policy involving participation in co-curricular activities, because that's a privilege, to participate in those things. And so the students are agreeing to not do those things during the school year. So whether it happens in school or out of school, they have violated the co-curricular contract to participate in sports. Okay? Each of the individual policies if a student is found on school property, there's a school-related suspension that has nothing
Clear.
to do with athletics. There's what you do with them in school and they're on property in school. Off-school property, they're not going to be like suspended from school or any of those things if it's off-school property, but their involvement in co-curricular activities
Will be affected.
will be affected. And then the third part, so then down here, so that basically cleared up the loophole that if you're caught once off school and once on school, the second time you're caught, no matter where it happened, is the second offense, okay? And then we have added this because it just didn't say what happened after the second offense. We put in there for the third offense, under any of these policies, a student would be removed for the entire school year from participation in athletics or co-curricular activities. Sir?
The way it's, so the third one, I just want to make sure I understand. It says for 1 calendar year from the date of the third offense, so.
Yes,
So
1 calendar year.
So hypothetically, somebody, third offense, their junior spring, they would not be able to play sports their senior year.
Correct.
Is that?
And yes, and the part of that is out of the fairness to all of the sports, because the spring sports would be hit the hardest. Because if it were just based on a year-to-year basis,
Yeah.
fall sports, great, here's your first offense, but you miss a game in the fall. By the time it comes around to the springtime, your spring sports would be hit the hardest out of this. So if we have a student that is in their third time doing that, in our belief that it was going to be a full year and that they would miss all of it, not just, because if it happens in springtime, so they miss a week of baseball and then they're back ready to go, and that would be a third offense.
So is this, so this is not in the current policy?
It is not, that is not in the current policy, nor is C, item C, which is any student who is suspended under this policy, involvement in co-curricular activities or athletics is prohibited from participating or attending any practice or event during the duration of the suspension. So if you are suspended under a first offense and it's a game, you don't get to practice or attend that event during that suspension. If it's your second offense and it's 9 weeks, you cannot participate or attend any practices or events during that period of time. And if it's your third offense, then it's a full calendar year.
So it's your third offense, you couldn't attend anything your senior year? Is that the way I read it?
That's the way you read it.
Any questions?
Yeah, cannot attend as a member of the team, or just can't attend, period?
Member of the team.
Okay, but
You don't
can't-
represent your team.
Yeah, if you were playing basketball and you could come to a basketball game,
go to
sit
a
in the
game,
stands,
you just
absolutely,
can't. Gotcha.
absolutely.
Can I ask and maybe you can't answer this because of, how many third offenses in 1 year do we get on average every year?
I've been here,
And on average?
Yeah.
I can't even do an average. I can't think of a
I would
time
say
that
this,
we've
I've been
gone
here 20 years, so
Yeah.
I don't believe we've had a third offense.
Okay,
Linda?
thank you.
They become much more savvy.
However, is it true that, like vaping, obviously is way more prevalent now than it was even last year at this time, or the year before, the last couple of years?
Vaping is yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's hit the
Oh,
charts.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the potential to see third offenses
Could be. But keep in mind, the out of school, we're not doing a witch hunt. You know, that has to be self-reported, pretty much. Or, police record, whatever, something. Okay, social media, how we deal with it. Okay? But the out of school, we had nothing really there. In school's easy. Selling, drinking, vaping, that's easy, that's really clear. It was the out of school we had no balance with. And we're dealing with many of those issues that are confirmed. And that goes through my office after Randy and Todd deal or Bob deal with it. So,
That's a good point, though, that it is, the vaping now is, if you think back to chewing tobacco, back in the 80s and 90s.
That was big.
That was prevalent. I mean, so you're gonna go through those cycles, these new things that come out.
but we're trying to keep up with the, obviously, the times. We had nothing in there in vaping.
Does the NHIA have recommendations of policies for?
No, they're all,
this
they
type of stuff?
don't, that's local control. They're all over the place too. We're pretty fine line. Some schools are zero tolerance, they're out completely. In school, out of school, they're out for the whole year. So I'm very comfortable with the policy that's in front of you tonight.
Bob worked hard on this, and Bruce and I, spoke a lot. Stays with our original policy of that one game, one event, depending if it's co-curricular. We're now consistent, where we jump up to 9 weeks, pretty significant, for a second offense, which we believe, if I'm not speaking for...
And that's been in there forever, when they originally made the drug and alcohol policy.
9 weeks is a semester.
Correct, well, yeah,
A quarter.
Yep.
Maybe a quarter.
and that's never changed.
Just one last question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just one last question. This is for your 4 years. So if you had 2 offenses your freshman year and you had an offense your junior year, you'd be...
No, each year, it's per year. The only one that goes is number 3.
If you hit the third where there's the one calendar year, that would carry over into the next year, but each year the slate is wiped clean.
I got you.
Just like you discipline when you come in,
Gotcha.
to go with superintendent.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
I haven't had a chance to look at it either, but my recollection, although probably pretty cloudy, was that if you agree to participate in some type of counseling program.
Yeah, you get a 3-day. Phil, the way it works is, if you agree to participate in that program, your suspension goes down to 3 days, and you have a 2-week suspension from co-curricular.
Okay.
If you choose not to, it's 10 days and the full.
Does that need to be in here?
It is.
It is already in it.
Oh, it is, okay, I like that, I
It's in
haven't read it, so
It's in
it's in there,
there.
okay.
Yep, it's in there.
Thank you.
That's not changed.
But there's nothing after the second or third offense that could mitigate what the...
No, once
So
you-
if you get 3 offenses, junior spring, let's say, the example you brought up in baseball, your senior year is done no matter what you do, no matter what program you go into, et cetera.
Correct.
The program only impacts the first offense, because the program's not offered after that.
Gotcha.
You've done the program once with the first offense, that reduced it 1 time.
So you go right to the 10-day suspension on that one, if you had a second. And that's in school.
This is for, yeah, Maureen?
Is the policy itself up for debate at this point, or is this just talking about how you're...
It's up for debate. That's your policy. You're the school board. It's your policy. These are recommendations from the administration.
So we found a loophole, Maureen. There was
Yeah,
nothing
and
on the
I-
outside.
I think that's great, and I think it's good
But-
that you
correct.
found that and
Yeah.
that you're taking care of
But
that.
you were talking about
I think
the entire
that
policy.
the policy in
Right.
general, I have problems with, and that's just that kids who are not allowed to participate in sports because they're into substances can cause more issues for them to be more involved in their substances if they're not staying involved after school. And there's, a certain amount of research about that. I'm just putting it out there now that I don't particularly agree with it as a whole. I think what you've done is great. I'm glad you put vaping in there. I think that clears that up. But I think that those second and third offenses probably ought to have some sort of programming involved, even more so than the first offense. But I'm just putting it out there now, and it doesn't need to be changed right now. I'm just saying that that's something that should be considered in the future.
Again, you'll have a complete conversation about this in March.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
This is
it's
first
just-
reading.
This is an introduction, and you have about a month to think about things and make suggestions. But it certainly is the board's policy.
But you've discussed, you've brought this up, you had a subcommittee on this, didn't you, before? About a month or 2 months ago?
I guess that
Linda?
just kind of reiterating what Maureen was saying, I guess that's what I question is I almost feel like the third offense needs more motivation or incentive to
Get it
be able
back.
to earn that back. It's kind of like if you take everything away with no possibility, there's no motivation for them to address their issue and
And to stop
I
using.
guess I feel, right, and to stop using.
I would also refer back to Sam's question. I haven't had a third offense.
With
this-
vaping, you might.
Yeah, but again,
If they lose their...
we could.
Yeah.
But in my tenure, I have not. And we have a lot of resources that we look at, with Korea, with the psychologists, with Genesis when we work with them.
Would it be unrealistic to add a program to the third?
It's the program, you're talking financial now too, who's paying for that? You know, in our drug and alcohol policy, they are responsible for that payment. A lot of them can't come up with that money. You know, I get a list of, maybe at the end of 3 months or whatever, what kids need to go through the program before I run it. And I'll run it in-house with one of my own staff members. They're required to be there. If they don't, then they get the full 2 weeks or the 10-day suspension. But again, it's a cost factor, so you throw it out there, it's,
But if we don't have many, we have just a few, is it gonna impact us that much?
it's $150 a student.
A student, yeah, okay. And the question is it better to spend that 150 first time or have more issues compiled? You know, like you're saying, the intervention is,
Again, it's very rare that we'll have a second offender in-house. When you take it out of house, it's a whole new ballgame. But again, it's then confirming that that happened. Just the kid that shows me a picture with him with a beer, or, you know, he can tell me he was cleaning up at the body or something. You know, they have to confirm that they violated that policy. I'm not gonna call the host family or whatever and start digging that end. No, I'm not. But I don't wanna pick up the paper and read in the paper that, you know, my kids were boom, 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 and there's their names or whatever. That's a different issue. So, you're giving me some flexibility so, you know, I can deal with it. So you got a kid out there that violates it the second time and all he or she does is just missing a game. It doesn't make sense. There's no teeth to it.
but I don't think we have any issues with the punitive piece, right?
No, I think you're
It's
talking,
just
you're
that-
looking at the resources to help.
Yeah, that's what we're
Yeah,
looking.
I
that's
hear
what
you.
we're- Yeah, I mean, I think the punitive, yeah, they shouldn't miss a year of sports, that makes complete sense.
Again, we're moving on to March, and again, you know, you take as much time as you want.
Okay.
Weighted grades.
Thank you for doing that.
Exactly, is co-curricular. Does that mean that if
Theater, chorus,
math club?
a nonchalant math club.
Math team for the
Yep,
For the quiz bowl.
quiz ball, everything.
For any of those clubs or
Chess club?
activities.
Anything outside of the normal school.
Equestrian,
Anything we do outside the normal school day, that's school sponsored. Weighted grade?
Yep.
weighted grades, we got one little piece that we'd like to add.
So you have the policy that was approved by the board a few years ago about weighted grades. The one change that we're requesting is that when we calculate earned time, that we give the benefit to the students and we use the earned time GPA for the GPA that comes from the weighted grades.
The Berkeley amendment.
So that they get that benefit, since they are taking more challenging and rigorous courses, that they should get the benefit of the weighted grade rather than the non-weighted grade. But honor roll stays the same, because to make honor roll, you still need an A or a B, depending on which honor roll you're going for, so that's not gonna change, because then that would allow, like, students with Cs to be on honor roll. So that doesn't change, but earned time would go to the weighted. So we'd just be removing the non.
Kudos to the kids, they came forward on this to me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a
You know,
good one.
and when they're right, they're right.
Yep. Yeah, that was good. Thought of that.
So you're knocking the non off.
We're knocking
Yes.
the non off, that's
Correct.
it.
And we need a motion for that.
Does everyone understand that? The non gets knocked off, and then just squiggly through it.
Like the Monroe Dodge.
So these will all appear in March at your committee meeting, and for a full discussion, and then timetable set up by you on all of these issues.
Okay.
Thank you. Also in March, the next agenda item, Mr. Chairman, we're gonna have a list for you, so we all know what acceleration policies that we have. I hear this out there, and then there are some new proposals by Lakes Region Community College for students to earn university system credits while they're in high school. It's pretty exciting stuff for families. So we want to go over that with you so that you have a clear understanding of what programs we're participating in
This is in March.
at the March meeting. I just put it on the agenda so that, entice you to come back in March.
Any other business to come before the committee meeting?
Could I, because so I don't forget it, Mark, in this policy on substance abuse, a statement Bruce made made me think of it. Have you ever had a discussion around not only possession or use, but in the proximity of?
We have, and it becomes a constitutional question. It was an old law way back, at least when I was around, that in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you were arrested for being in an area where narcotics were found. And, a lot of people got brought to the police station, and they were at an event, and they were not in possession, didn't know someone had it, and it just didn't stand muster. That's where we've sort of been, Phil. If you happen to be in a house and you're downstairs and a kid upstairs is drinking beer, how do you blame the kid who's down in the basement watching a game on TV or something?
But if you're at a drinking party,
Yep.
and someone puts it on Facebook or wherever it is they put it on,
Right.
and you're sitting, the example Bruce gave, you're sitting there holding a beer.
Well, now it's a different story, Phil. You're sitting there holding a beer. If you're at a drinking party, sitting on a couch, then the person
Into the kitchen.
would be brought into Bruce's office and said, this is a picture of you. Yeah, that's me, Mr. Parsons. I was there. As you can see from my hands, I was not participating. Then that's the end of the story from our perspective. The person may say, yeah, I just missed. I just threw one away, and that would be a different story. But that's how we handle it. We go on the person's word. And we've had a lot of occasions where folks have been in the background, and they said, no, I was there, but I didn't. I wasn't. I was there because all my friends were there, and I was there for a few minutes and then left. Again, we don't do witch hunts. We don't do witch hunts, and we take people at their word.
So we don't follow the law of the Commonwealth from the early 1970s, is what you're saying?
No, neither does the Commonwealth, my understanding. Or there'd be a pretty good prison expansion, I guess. But that, I just was highlighting what some of these laws became when that came out.
The motion for the SCC, that one component is supposed to come for the board.
For the two
Did
membership.
we make that?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
All right. There was, I stand corrected, there was one motion for the SCC to change the makeup of the committee from 3 school board members and 2 alternates to 2 school board members and 1 alternate, coming from committee.
And again, only 2 would have the right to vote.
Yes.
Right.
So coming from the committee, is that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining, so that passes. Thank you.
And that was it.
That's it?
Next
Program
meeting is on the
and,
19th.
sorry, program and staffing.
Okay, we approve the minutes, and in other business, Mr. Parsons asked us to bring forth a couple of issues. One with an overnight TSA trip it was brought to the board for 21 students to go to Attitash on Thursday, March 22nd. And we will need to vote on that. Should we do it separately or all together with?
You can do it all
Where was
together.
that?
You can do it
Is
all.
that 2 nights or 1?
2 nights, Thursday
That's
and Friday.
2 nights,
Yeah,
okay.
on 22nd, 23rd.
All right. And then the other one is a Quiz Bowl trip over April vacation to Washington DC from the 26th to the 30th, and that's 4 to 6 kids that will be determined. And if we could, that was from committee.
Okay, any questions for Maureen? So coming from the committee of those 2 recommendations, all those in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it's unanimous, thank you.
All right, and then another thing that Mr. Parsons asked us to vote on was a foreign exchange student coming from Belgium. She would be in her junior year, and any more information that you need?
No, that's it. I'll come back and let you know the host family. At the top of my head, I just
Okay.
can't think of the host family name right now.
Okay,
So
so
it's on my desk.
that was a recommendation coming from committee.
All
It's a
right.
local family though.
All those in favor of the Belgium exchange student? Belgian exchange student?
Aye.
And another unanimous.
Okay, and then we went into non-public for spring coaches nominations, and that was it. With that, our future meeting will be on March 19th.
You can bring spring coaches out if
Oh, we
you'd
have to
like.
bring that
Sure.
out? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do you want to do that, Mark?
Yes, I
Okay.
nominated a slate of spring coaches to the board. All of them, except for JV girls lacrosse, Kennedy Kelly, are returning coaches. We're very pleased to have them all return.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the spring coaches as recommended by the superintendent?
Aye.
Another unanimous.
Okay. And that's all we have.
All righty.
There'll be no meeting on Tuesday, March 6th. That's the town meeting period, and we'll be voting on all of our things on, I believe, the 14th. Tuesday the 14th will be new board members, also our budget. And then you're targeted to have your first committee meetings on March 19th. My understanding from the board, you want to have the full board meeting after that? We can do it all on Monday night, March 19th, if you
Yeah,
choose.
if we don't have a huge...
It's your call. I mean, it's your...
No, let's do it.
Okay.
I hate to be the dissenting voice.
Yeah.
The only time, sometimes, at least I feel rushed if we need to take action the same night we get something.
Sure.
So if we can somehow,
Well, what I would do, Phil, if the
Yeah.
board wants to do that, then there'll be no introducing something on Monday and then having you vote on that Monday. There'll be a full month for
I don't
you
want to handcuff the administration.
No, you know what, and it's right, you should have time, especially the big stuff, you should have time. Yeah, and you can use your discretion if it's just a minor issue, we bring it forward and you can tell us, yeah. We'll try it for a month and see if it works.
I don't think Walter can be here on Monday nights.
All right, I will check with Walter.
Okay. So you will let us know then?
Yes, yeah.
But we'll plan on the committee meetings and the board.
The committee meetings will definitely be that night, and then I'll touch base with the chair in terms of Walter's status for Monday night. How's that? Okay.
If he can't come Monday nights, can we move it to Tuesday?
Is that an option, doing committee
Yes,
and
you
board?
can do all your,
I
you can
mean,
do
just
your
whatever's
committee and,
convenient to
yeah.
him.
So if you just want to do one night a week, you can move them certainly to Tuesday.
So
Sure.
let's see
Does
what Walter
Monday or
says.
Tuesday work better for most people? Or does anyone care?
Tuesday works better for me if I have
Tuesday's
selected
better
meetings
for
on
me,
that
too.
Monday. It just all depends on the time of year.
Looks like-
Tuesdays are
Want to do
nice.
Tuesday?
Yeah, I'd rather do
All right, why don't we
Tuesday.
schedule Tuesday the 20th? And then and I'll touch base with Walter and
Okay.
we'll do Tuesday the 20th.
All right, that'd be great.
So all those committee meetings will be moved to the 20th?
Yes. And I have no other business, Madam Chair.
Any board member concerns?
No concerns, but I have two comments. I don't know if anybody has been watching some or all of the Olympics, but Sarah Hendrickson, whose parents both graduated from Plymouth High School, was in the, I forget what you call this, skiing where you jump out over your skis. And she placed the highest of the U.S. females in this event at 19. But she did a super job, and it was just wonderful to watch a locally connected young lady. Her parents were Nancy Bounds and Scott Hendrickson, and her grandmother is Arlene Bounds, still very busy and active in our community, so I thought that was good. The other thing, I just happened to catch on the Chronicle program, they discussed about our ski program, and they showed the ski jump and spoke about how we gathered together as a community and worked on the ski jump, and how when you win a state tournament in New Hampshire for ski jumping, you're also in the national, because there are very few places they have the ski jumping. So that was a great expose for us on Chronicle.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Sam, seconded by
Yep.
Melinda. Melinda.
Okay.